All right, good morning. It's extremely early in the recap video, and it's spring break. We're having a good time with the little ones, and let's get on into it. This is a recap for March 13th, 2017, and even though we only worked half a day, we're actually more busy than not. So let's get on over to the screens here, get this recap done and out of the way. Yesterday was day number 43 on our marathon to a million, and got a pretty good motivational video that we're going to accompany it with it. So let's get straight into the journal post. So day number 43, don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits. All right, Bible verse was Ephesians 2:8, which reads, "For it is by the grace of God's remarkable compassion and favor drawing you to Christ that you have been saved, actually delivered from judgment and given eternal life through faith. And this salvation is not of yourselves, not through your own effort, but it is the undeserved gracious gift of God." How far do you have to go to create enough wealth to enjoy an even higher quality of life? Chances are it's not nearly as far as you might think. Consider our super guru friends, Timothy Sykes, Tim Grattani, Superman, Kunal Desai, Hubert Centers, Mir Barak, Mark Crook, Tim Bowen, Michael Good, Eric Russell, Airplane Jane, all known to us, some more than others, but we can see their success. Roads previously traveled are easier to navigate than trying to do it on your own. So take something from each of them to develop and navigate your path. Words cannot express what is possible when you truly decide to change unsuccessful habits and act on that decision day in and day out. One characteristic I believe that all of the aforementioned traders demonstrate is being disciplined enough to end old habits and acted on that decision by being consistent and striving to meet their goals. The same applies to you. Identify what areas you want to be successful in, create a plan, and act on executing behaviors that will get you closer to your goal. Each and every moment you have an opportunity. Today's song encourages us to use your key and break every chain of bad habits. You do that, and there is no limit to your success. All right, to the plays are posted to Twitter. Here we go. All right, here's my my Twitter pic from yesterday morning, 7:44 in the morning, which is 8:44 in the morning. It's an old news article, but I wanted to post it nevertheless about the stock offering for Fate. Watched them run up real heavy yesterday. So we subsequently turned right around and bust them in the mouth. Can't fight Fate. Short of the trend line break pre-market at 8:48 a.m. I posted the entry time as 9:30 so that it visually shows up. You can't see this stuff on TraderView. So it says doesn't show. Should be show, not shoe. The pre-market entries. Exited after 50% retracement. I think my buddy Reggie texted me a little bit later last night. He actually saw a couple bear flags that played out throughout the rest of the day as well. There may be one right in here when it went touched to 540. So you could have got you some 535 entry and finessed them down to 510, maybe for another 5% down. But failed open and got a gap to close, which didn't close that part of the gap, but from that high, you can see that it gapped up, rolled down, pushed up, gapped up, rolled down to come and touch it. So this is kind of the support area. To close the gap, it had to get down to 480. And we'll continue watching them this week. DWT, shout out to Vic and Alex. My first trade on the WTs, UWT and DWT. I finessed it correctly, exited via RSI. It's my first time kind of messing with them. So we're in and we're out. Pretty good because we might be buying right there. We might be dip buying the 2960 area and ran into 3040. So because of that, we got out, or we might have been shorting UWT at the same time. So that one played out pretty good. We'll watch UWT because it's the most oversold of the two on today. PLX, respected the bottom as I might be dip buying here on the exit and look later in the day. I think my buddy Trevor, good job, Trevor. I think Trevor entered at about 126. I don't know where he exited, but his play was probably way better than mine. It was up 20% approximately. Means we're reading the chart correctly. So let's take a look. All right, there you go. you get a push up, you get a pullback. All right, so if you flag this thing, you can see it's breaking the flag, so it might be by that. And went 126 to nearly one. I think it made it to the 146, 150 area later in the day. You can't see it here, but there it is. There we go. And then after hours, I think it touched the 150. So that exit there was perfect because this is probably where we'd be buying it for the flag formation. So now, okay, told you guys live on this one, perfect fade, just like the previous day. I shared with the group that if I had to wait all day, I would. And I finessed the exit with the ADX. ADX came through today. So we took short off of this flag here. Boom, entry. Fade off 21.4. Didn't take profit here. Let it bounce back to me. But essentially all we're doing is making a lower high. High, lower high, lower high. High, couldn't get back through it. Starts fading back down, perfect. And we do this left to right situation. If you look at the previous day on Friday, the same thing and sold off. So we were waiting on. Boom, busting. And Restoration Hardware, late trade. Failed open, but I was busy with the, I put late play because the failed open was where the money was, but I was busy with FATE. FATE is where I was busy at. So we let it drop down, and then we took some right in here as it was challenging this support spot at 34, finessed it down. I took 50 cents. We could have got them down to 33, which is initially the goal. So now we can't hold 33. Let's go see about 31 then. We'll be watching them today. And last play, Robinhood, PDT restricted account. Not taking an overnight risk. Closing this one out as it held the 200 moving average and bottom. Close out after our hours with Robinhood Gold Access. Perfect. Little bounce right there, 805. And again, so you can't see the extended hours, but extended hours 836 was my exit. So we're out of this play now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, that's official. Here's the motivational video of the day. You guys enjoy, and I'm gonna go back to sleep and get back up and do it all over again.
You talk a lot about having a powerful vision and how necessary that is for success. So I'm thinking of you here on your sister's couch. What did that vision look like?
Pay my own rent. That was the first vision. And I think a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, get caught up in these big ideas or big visions when they're in a small place to start and when they feel like it's too unattainable. And so I always talk about starting with something simple. So for me, the next step was to get off the couch and feel like I was an adult.
Right.
I would write out my own itinerary every day. How much time am I going to work towards my health? When is that time? When am I allocating it towards? How much time am I working towards reaching out to mentors, to learning new information, to traveling to events, to consuming books, whatever it may be? And some people may say that's a little crazy or a little too much.
Right.
If you want to achieve those results, you've got to be very intentional about every moment. The more focused, the easier the opportunity to achieve.
Doing something, you should believe in it with your heart. And just the only way you can do that is to know who you are. But once you know who you are, how you want to work, how you want to spend that part of your life for work. And then you just go do it. You start every day and you learn stuff as you go. And that's the thing. So, the advice is, maybe it's some of the things I've already said, like, if you know yourself, then you can start to build a vision for what you want to become and what you want to do with your life.
How do you prepare somebody to survive that initial stage of boredom and pain?
Well, pain is great. You've got to embrace pain. Pain is pleasure. You've got to make the connection between the physical and the mental. When you work out, it's painful. I do long distance swimming is like my main workout. I also do other things, but that's my main workout. I'm on like mile 1 and I'm like, God, man, this is fun. I'm so bored and I'm really going to collapse. But when I'm finished, I am like, oh man, I've got so much energy and it feels so good and I pushed past it. Well, you know that when you're exercising, when you're running or you're working out or whatever, it hurts, but it leads to something pleasurable. You have to be able to translate that to mental things. And if you make that switch in your mind, it is mind-blowing what can happen to you. If the boredom of learning something technical, and you're able to say to yourself, wow, I'm going to master this bit of coding after a few months, and just think of what that's going to allow me to do. Okay, so the boredom now is actually not so bad, because I can imagine the powers that it's going to lead to. I'm not going to skip the steps. I'm still going to learn, but I'm thinking of all of that post-workout feeling I'm going to have. You've got to be able to understand, embrace pain. Pain is something to embrace. If there's no resistance to you, you're not going to get anywhere in life. Who are the most messed up people in the world? Spoiled kids. Kids who are given everything, who have a rich father or mother and they don't have to work or try. They are the most messed up people you'll ever meet.
All right, you're writing a book on human nature. Why is that true?
Because they have no limits, they have no resistance. They don't have to push against anything. They don't have to go like that
Does
to
that
get
atrophy something in the brain, do you think?
Well, it's one of the laws of human nature. One of the laws is about what I call necessity. We are animals of necessity. When we have to discover or build something, we build it if our life is on the line. That's how we're genetically primed from several million years ago. And when there's no necessity, when we don't have to do something, we just lie around and watch television and smoke pot.
You can have any habit you want to be. You can be lazy, you can be prompt, you can be late, you can be honest, you can cut corners. I mean, you have all these choices. And those are choices for you to make. Nobody else is going to make them for you. And I would suggest that you play this little game with me too. Think about the person you would most like to be in life. So maybe it's one of your contemporaries, maybe it's somebody a little older, but pick out the person you admire the most, the person that you'd change places with if you could. And then write down why you admire them. Just put it on a piece of paper. And then figure out the person that you would least like to change places with you. Who really turns you off? Who do you find repulsive? And list the reasons why that person turns you off so much. And put those down on the other side of the paper. And then look at that list. And you'll find that everything on the left-hand side, what you admire in other people, the qualities they bring to life, cheerfulness, generosity, all kinds of things. You'll find those are things you can do yourself. It's very simple. You got to apply yourself, but the habits you form in doing that early on will carry you through life. And on the other hand, you'll find that the things that make people repulsive, selfishness, obnoxiousness, all these things, egotism, are things that no one has to have. If you find those in yourself, you can get rid of them as long as you get rid of them early. So all I suggest is that you write down a list of what you admire, what you find contemptible, and decide that the ones on the admired side are ones you're going to acquire for yourself. And if you do that when you're young, it'll carry you through the rest of your life. This doesn't work if you do it when you're 50 or 60. By then the habits are too well formed. But if you do it early, behavior becomes a habit. So if you do that, 2 or 3 years from now, if you go through the same exercise, you'll find out that the person you admire the most is yourself. That can be a little dangerous under some circumstances, but it's not a bad thing. I mean, you want to be somebody you like, and you don't want to be somebody that you dislike. And form those habits early. You basically can't miss.
In your bias right now, you're thinking, okay, if I get what I want, then I'm going to be happy. And what I'm showing you is that that's true. And any fucking asshole who tells you you shouldn't work hard, you shouldn't be competitive, you shouldn't go for what you want, you shouldn't fucking crush it financially, in your relationships, in your health, in your goals, and get what you want. You should just be happy now and just don't worry about that stuff. Don't be attached. Any fucking asshole that tells you that, just look at them. You don't have to say it out loud, but in your mind, just say, go fuck yourself. Okay? Because they're leading you down a path that's not there to serve you. They're trying to lead you into their groupthink to rationalize their own beliefs. But likewise, also realize that there's another way of looking at things where you could train yourself to have gratitude right now. You could train yourself to laugh right now. You could train yourself to be present to the moment right now. You could discover that when you think less and allow a space in the thinking so that you can get presence, a lot of genius and brilliance and spontaneity and awareness will come to you naturally. You may even discover that you've been getting in your own way. You may discover that you've been making yourself more tired and miserable than you have to be. You may discover that your most natural state is that of joy, and that a lot of modern society, consumer culture, and ego fulfillment has robbed you of a naturally happy state, that you could have spent the last several years of your life in the fucking zone super happy, and then instead you've been chasing phantoms. You may discover that too.
Part of us always knows that we're just a doctor's visit away or a phone call away from being starkly reminded with the fact of our own mortality, or of those closest to us. Now, I'm sure many of you in this room have experienced this in some form. You must know how uncanny it is to suddenly be thrown out of the normal course of your life and just be given the full-time job of not dying or caring for someone who is. But the one thing people tend to realize at moments like this is that they wasted a lot of time when life was normal. Okay, it's not just what they did with their time. It's not just that they spent too much time working or compulsively checking email. It's that they cared about the wrong things. They regret what they cared about. Their attention was bound up in petty concerns, year after year, when life was normal. And this is a paradox, of course, because we all know this epiphany is coming. Don't you know this is coming? Don't you know that there's going to come a day when you'll be sick or someone close to you will die, and you'll look back on the kinds of things that captured your attention, and you'll think, what was I doing? You know this, and yet if you're like most people, you will spend most of your time in life tacitly presuming you'll live forever. I mean, it's like watching a bad movie for the 4th time. Or bickering with your spouse. These things only make sense in light of eternity.